Thank you guys for being here this evening. We're going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. flag led by Councilmember John Holmes. The Texas Pledge will be led by BEDC Executive Director Cynthia Hernandez, and then I will lead the invocation, if we would all rise.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
You bow with me. Dear Lord, I just thank you for this beautiful day as we head into the fall and as we start getting a little busier and activities. I just pray that you'll continue to be with those that are in harm's way. Pray for all the students that are traveling on buses and back and forth to schools and all the construction, and you just keep folks safe, and just be with us this evening as we deliberate and guide us in the decisions that have to be made. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
All right, we will call today's meeting Tuesday, September 24th to order at 5:31. First item on our agenda is public comments. Anyone who wishes to address the council may do so. We have several that have signed up. If you have not signed up and you wish to do so, you are welcome to do that. We usually limit it to around roughly 3 minutes. But I'm going to start with the first one. Wayne Cooley, Belton Police Department. Of our own.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are y'all today?
Good.
Super. Wonderful. So my name is Wayne Cooley. I'm the school resource sergeant for Belton Police Department. I'm also the National Night Out coordinator, and I came out here tonight to give you all a little bit of information about it, and also to extend an invitation to all of you, as well as all of our community members, to National Night Out this year. If you're not aware, National Night Out, it's an annual community building campaign that promotes police and community partnerships through neighborhood camaraderie. This is accomplished with citizen-hosted neighborhood block parties, and this year we have several of them throughout our entire city. I left a list of those up there for each of you to review. This year's event, it's on October 1st. The parties start at either 5:30 or 6. They'll be hosted, like I said, throughout the city, and they'll be going on until about 8 p.m. If you'll watch the Belton PD Facebook page, there's going to be more information put out about the parties as we get a little bit closer. And if you also have any questions, you can always reach out to me. I'd be happy to answer if you have any questions about what's going on with National Night Out. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, usually some really good food. So I encourage anybody who has an opportunity to go to more than one. It's pretty awesome. All right. The second one I have listed is also another one of our own, City Manager Sam Listy. She's in trouble. It's worse than going to the principal's office. It's going to council.
Yeah, we just had evaluations, so I thought I'd bring her up here. Mayor and Council, it gives me great pleasure to recognize Amy Casey for completion of her Master Municipal Clerk Program designation. Really exciting, a lot of extra work. The Master Municipal Clerk Program is the second and the more advanced of the two professional designations granted by the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. The program is an advanced continuing education program that prepares participants to perform complex municipal duties. It has an extensive and rigorous educational component and a professional contribution component as well. The requirements of the program designation include holding a certified municipal clerk designation in good standing, being an active full member of the International Clerk Association, reaffirming the organization's code of ethics, and attaining 60 points in advanced education category and 40 points in the professional contributions category. We're very, very proud of Amy for this accomplishment, her ability to complete these elements in the midst of other very demanding activities and challenges, requests on her time. Want to recognize her in this achievement of excellence in professionalism and in her chosen field. So I want to congratulate Amy. Join me in doing it.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to see folks continuing to improve the toolbox that they have. So congratulations again. That's all I have as far as signed public comments. Anyone else wish to address the council? All right. There being none, the next one is a proclamation, Manufacturing Day. I'll come down and read it in just a second. I do want to give a little background on Manufacturing Day, at least for me. It's near and dear to my heart. My dad was a manufacturing engineer, commuted back and forth to Austin. There weren't many manufacturing jobs here. I had an aunt, Nell Rentschler, that worked for the Joneses back in the day. I guess Bell, what was the Bell, what was the one on 6th? Continental. Yeah. So anyway, so Aunt Nell worked there. My first grade teacher was Mrs. Kennedy, and her husband, Robert Kennedy, was, superior chair. And then as a kid going, the Brentham boys would borrow the big wheel as they started Hydra Fitness. And then I myself started a manufacturing company that here. So anyway, manufacturing is near and dear to primary jobs is a really key thing, and it's nice to see that Belton still has them. So I'm going to come down here and read the proclamation. That was not the proclamation. It's going to be much more confusing when I go there. This way. Yeah, we do have representatives of our manufacturing community that are receiving these proclamations, and I'll let Cynthia hand those out. But I'll go ahead and read this. Whereas the city of Belton, Texas is promoting Manufacturing Day on October 4th, 2024, and whereas Manufacturing Day was developed to improve public perception of manufacturing and is supported by thousands of manufacturers nationally as they host students, teachers, parents, job seekers, and other local community members at open houses, as well as digital and virtual events designed to showcase modern manufacturing technologies and careers. And whereas it is a celebration of modern manufacturing designed to inspire the next generation on how they can make a difference through manufacturing, give guidance on how to take first steps in starting a career in modern manufacturing, effectively communicate that manufacturers next generation, show students, parents, the opportunity, creativity, and possibility of accomplishing those tasks. And whereas the manufacturing industry is a critical component of the state of Texas economy with over 986,000 employees and gross domestic product of 256.9 billion in 2023. And whereas the state of Texas and the city of Belton's economic growth on the educational and vocational opportunities that align with the manufacturer's skilled labor needs, and whereas manufacturing relies on implementation of innovative technologies, provides competitive benefits to employees, and thereby makes manufacturing a worthwhile career choice for all residents, and whereas the city of Belton supports and joins in the national effort to help America's manufacturers do what they do best, grow their business, create jobs, and ensure that our community remain as vibrant tomorrow as it is today. Now, therefore, I, David Lee, Mayor of the City of Belton, do hereby proclaim October 4th, 2024 as Manufacturing Day. All right. So this manufacturing engineer can read. So Cynthia, do you want to? You may, sure.
I will share these in just a minute, but if you'll permit me to make a few comments. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this meaningful proclamation. Manufacturing Day is a national initiative to promote modern manufacturing in America. Oh. This is Belton's 5th year participating in Manufacturing Day, and with each year, our partnerships grow stronger and our reach is expanded. And so you can see in this slide, our manufacturers in Belton, and at the bottom, you can see all of our partners that make Manufacturing Day possible. So a few activities that we'll do to celebrate manufacturing. On October 2nd, we will host industry tours. So Belton ISD, we partner with Belton ISD. Dr. Melinda Gold and Gabby Nino is here with Belton ISD. And so we will start the day with 40 high school students touring 2 companies on one day and then 2 companies another day. We are touring Beltec, American Spincast, True, and Targo. After street tours, we will join back here at the Harris Community Center. Thank you, City of Belton, for hosting us. And Texas Workforce Solutions will provide a presentation on occupations to our high school students. And then that will be followed by interactive activities provided by Temple College. Dr. Christy Ponce is here as well. And Temple Skills Development Team typically leads those hands-on activities with our Belton High School students. So it's a great collaboration. It's our opportunity to showcase what products are being made in our backyard and what manufacturing looks like. And we appreciate the school district being open to these tours and our industries as well. We have here today Stratasys is here as Beltec Industries. And if I've missed any other manufacturers, please stand. And actually, I know nobody gone up there, but can we get a Kodak moment? Can we take a picture? Yes. So I would invite Temple College, BISD, Beltec, Stratasys, and any other industries if I've missed you, if we could come up here. And while they're making their way up, I also do say thank you to the BEDC team. Catherine Muchler, our research and marketing specialist, has done lifting and pulling this together. And Warren Ketterman, new to our team, our director of industry development, has been a great help. And so if we can get everyone up here, distribute the proclamations. And Paul, if you could do us the honors with the photo. Thank you.
Right here, right here. You can all fill in there. All of you. We've been kind of. Good. Okay, here we go. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is our consent agenda. Items 4 through 8 can be enacted by a single motion. If anyone wishes to pull any of these items, we can consider separately. I'm going to read those and then we can discuss, or we can adopt these in one motion. The item 4 is adopting the minutes of the September 10th council meeting. Item 5 is adopting a resolution nominating a candidate for the Bell County Appraisal District Board of Directors. Do we have yeah. And so I just wanted to make sure. Yeah. So we're nominating Hugh Shine. Oh yeah, it's right there. Hugh Shine to fill that. Next one is authorizing the purchase of 3 portable buildings from Belton ISD. Item 7 is adopting an interlocal agreement with Bell County authorizing funding in the amount of $1,181,000 from the Belton Tax Increment Reinvestment for 1 to be used towards the purchase of approximately 3.8 acres of land for future Bell County facilities as included in projects and financing plans. And item 8 is approving a facade easement grant application for exterior renovations to the structure at 210 East Central Avenue, located in the downtown Belton Commercial Historic District between South Penelope Street and Northeast Street. Those are the items that I have. The chair would entertain a motion, or we could pull items from this agenda.
Move we approve items 4 through 8 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve items 4 through 8. Any other discussion before we vote? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, passes unanimously. So items 4 through 8 pass. Item 9, planning and zoning. Miss Tina looks like she's going to be doing a few. Hold a public hearing and consider a zoning change from single family 1 retail and planned development to amended planned development retail on approximately 2 acres located at 2910 and 3002 North Main Street. Christina.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hi, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well tonight. For the the owner intends to construct 2 fast food restaurants, a Panda Express and McDonald's, with drive-through services at both of the location. The Panda Express site has a couple of easements that restricts their building area, so they're requesting a reduction in the side yard setback to allow for their construction. Here is the current zoning and the location of this property. It is north of River Fair Boulevard and on the west side of North Main. As you can see, the property is zoned, oh, thunder. In a family one, retail, a planned development retail. I thought something weird was good, so I'm sorry. about that.
That's
So-
what it sounds like when you eat Panda Express and McDonald's on the same day.
Sorry, moving right along.
Yeah.
So the proposed zoning is to change all of that to planned development retail. Here's a look at the currently undeveloped. Here is a look at the rest property. This is not a set plan yet, so there might be some changes in the future. The highlighted area, the yellow and the salmon color, those are the utility easements and access easement that has impeded their property, hence why they need a setback of 15 feet on that southern property line where the building is closest to. Here's a look at the elevations. What they're proposing is ephes, stack brick at the bottom and accent wood accents around the building. Here is a look at the McDonald's site. This is preliminary. They're also showing access off of that access easement. On the south side of the property, they're proposing a 3,600 square feet building, and they're also going to have 2 drive-throughs that converts into one at the pickup windows. 37 parking spaces are proposed on that site. Again, this is preliminary, could be subject to changes. The future land use of this area is a lifestyle center, so what is being proposed is permitted in that lifestyle center area. The zoning commission heard this item at their meeting on the 17th, and they unanimously recommended approval of the zoning. For that criteria, development of the site must conform to the retail zoning district. A 15-foot side yard setback is allowed for the southern property line of the Panda Express site. A final plat is under review at the moment. That will be coming back to you guys shortly, maybe next month. And development must comply with all of our development standards. That the applicant is here, should you have questions for him, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have as well.
All right, thank you, Tina. I'll go ahead and close deliberations and open the floor for public comments. And so this is a public hearing. If anyone would speak in favor or against this particular zoning change, now's the time to do so. There being no comments positive, negative, we will close the floor and reconvene to consider this item. Any comments or questions?
This takes care of all, is this all 4 properties? Right, or 5 technically?
If you're talking about from the river
Parcels?
parcels,
Yes.
yes, sir, that takes care of all of them. The next one is where the cemetery is, so that will remain as
No, yeah.
agricultural.
For some reason, I saw on the panel one, there's something like on the drawings next to it, but then you look down one, there's a gap, so I wasn't sure if this was all this or not.
That is all. Sorry, looking. There will be something at the eastern part of it, if that's what you mean.
Tina, are we changing that exit onto 317? Will that be a right turn only, or will that remain left and right coming out of?
We're currently doing a traffic study over there to see whether or not we can probably get a traffic light, some kind of improvements over there. We don't know the results of that yet. That's just started, so we should hopefully have results soon that we could present to you guys.
Are you asking about the current ride in on?
As you leave the cinema or Starbucks?
River Fair, I think it's River Fair Drive.
River Fair
Fair,
onto
yep.
317?
I think it's full access right now, but it's just a
Turning
long
left
stretch.
Now,
Correct.
I'm just worried about
Actually going left.
Correct.
this dicey.
Correct. And that's why we're trying to do that study to see if we can get some other improvements over there to address that safety concern.
The developer and the city are participating in a TIA right now at that intersection to try to evaluate whether a signal light can be placed there. We're not sure yet. We appreciate the cooperation to investigate that.
Sure.
Certainly, the restaurants in the vicinity and all the other activity are generating traffic. Certainly in the future, there's going to be additional residential development on the large property. So whether the signal is appropriate now or sometime in the future, there may be a certain threshold of counts that would justify either now or in the future.
A big oval about.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I don't know what the TA will recommend, but if there's a chance that maybe just a U-turn only at the current Lake Main Street, because I think it's wide enough, something like that would, I don't know about another stop.
It's dangerous.
And it's the close proximity to 439 traffic signal, but we're certainly evaluating that and we'll bring back that recommendation to you.
The four-way stop, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, John.
The four-way stop there coming out, and also I think the access to Lake Road is efficient. I would expect some increased traffic on, I should know the name of the street, but River Fair, back to that towards the high school. I think just prepare folks for some higher traffic flow.
I would say that internal circulation's gotten a lot better. People are using internal circulation now, the cross access and those streets back there. It's much better. Right. Any other comments or questions?
I'm just hopeful about the traffic light because that traffic is really picking up. Starbucks is a constant stream for one. I'm sure that the other developments, including the housing that Sam mentioned, are going to increase it as well.
Chair would entertain a motion.
I'm gonna move program item Z 24-21 as presented this evening.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the zoning change as presented. Any other comments or questions before we vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 10, hold a public hearing and consider a zoning change from retail to planned development retail on approximately 2.84 acres located at 35 South Loop 121, the southwest corner of Loop 121 and FM 93.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The owner intends to construct a retail center at this location. He currently owns a dental office that will be moving over here as in one of the anchor, and the other spaces will be leased to potential tenants in the future. Here's the location of that property. It's currently zoned retail. The purpose of this is to allow for a side yard reduction for this as well. The applicant has submitted in a final plat that provides an internal property line between two properties, and there's a reduction that's requested with that area. Here is the proposed site plan. As you can see, it's proposing two buildings. Building A is over 9,000 square feet. Building B is over 7,000 square feet. Two food truck parking spaces are also shown on the site plan. Has 95 uncovered parking spaces and 10 covered parking spaces. There is a carport proposed at the western, right around here, of the western part of the property. A restaurant with drive-through services is proposed at the anchor end of the building. If that should become available for a tenant. There is a 31-foot separation between the two buildings, and with the new additional internal property line, this is for a 15-foot side yard setback from that internal property line for the separation of two buildings. Here is a look at the plat that's coming through for review, so you can see that property line that is going to be connecting. Here is a look at the elevations that is being proposed. So the materials include masonry and some hardy plank. Future land use map shows this area as a small scale commercial center, so the proposed use fits into that. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this item at their meeting on the 17th and recommended approval of this. With that, there is, of course, compliance with the retail zoning district. A side yard setback of 15 is permitted on, there's two different sides that's in your packet, but on the north side of building of lot 2 and on the south side of lot 1 for that 15-foot building setback, an accessory structure setback where that carport is of 2 feet is permitted. A final plat is currently being reviewed and the development must comply with all of our standards that we have in place. The applicant is here. Should you have any questions for him? And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys have as well.
Thank you. Again, this is a public hearing, so we will stop our deliberations and we will open the floor for anyone who wishes to speak in favor or against this item. Just a name and address for the record.
Jay Little, 670 East 24th Avenue, Belton, Texas. So I'm the owner of this lot and put together the plans for everything. So my goal was we need some more space at our current offices, some of you know. And so I'm just trying to build something that I think would be in a good location, easily accessible. I think it would be, we're trying to have not just my own space, but some space for other co-tenants and businesses in the area. And we kind of just want to make it, better for the city of Belton. So do you have any questions for me?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like a great development.
Really does.
I hope so.
Thank you.
Go forth and do good things.
I'm sure a Baskin Robbins and all those things that little kids eat the sugar so they can feed, it's a feeder into yeah, there, yeah. All right. Does not look like we have any other public comments, so we'll close the floor and reconvene and entertain a motion on this item.
I move we approve item 10 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item 10 as presented. Any other comments or questions?
There's a pretty good Facebook post with a lot of ideas for you out there if you're
Yeah.
needing ideas on
Yeah.
minutes. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Facebook is a wonderful, I wouldn't call it wisdom, but there's a lot of opinions out there. So all in favor, please let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, the zoning passes unanimously. Item 11 is hold a public hearing and consider a zoning change from highway to commercial highway with a specific use permit to allow for a 70-foot pole sign with an electronic changeable sign on approximately 8.963 acres located at 1901 South IH 35 Service Road. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This site is intended for the Belton Foodies Travel Center. What the applicant is requesting is approval for a 70-foot tall sign, 157.7 square feet, high profile sign with electronic changeable copy. Here is the location of this property. It's off of 35 and it's adjacent to where the proposed Layla extension will be coming through. Here is a site plan that the applicant is proposing. Again, this is that extension of Layla with a right in, right out to access off of 35 Frontage Road. The convenience store is located right there. It's going to be a little over 18,000 square feet. There's 94 parking spaces, which includes 24 truck parking spaces at the site. So access will be off of 35 Frontage Road and 2 off of Layla, one in the front and one towards the back. This is the request that the applicant is requesting. Again, this is a 70-foot tall sign, cladded. The reason for this request is for increase of visibility along the Interstate 35 corridor. The applicant is with numerous overpass that impedes the visibility of their site for southbound travelers. So the proposed height, he thinks will be what is necessary to provide that visibility so travelers can get off at the right appropriate ramp for the store location. So here's a look at that 35 area. As you can see, 14 overpass are in front of that property. Their property is located where this arrow is showing. As you may recall, we recently adopted some standards for electronic changeable copies, so those will still be applicable. So for the signage, the square footage of that, the foodies area is 160 square feet. That's a non-changeable area. And there's 265 feet of digital pricing. That's just for the price. We usually don't calculate that because that's a necessity for that type of use. And the rest of it is 197.7 square feet of the changeable copy. So with that, there is a maximum lumens of 300-foot candles for signs. Again, there's a sensor that's required to adjust to the ambient light condition. Blinking, flashing is permitted, and changes between the messages have to be within seconds, or display has to be for about 10 seconds minimum, and changes has to occur in 2 seconds or less. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this at their meeting 17th, and they recommended approval of the requested 70-foot sign with the electronic changeable copy. Of course, this has to comply with the commercial highway zoning standards. A 70-foot tall sign is permitted. Staff had recommended a maximum area of 300 square feet. Planning and zoning approved the applicant's request for 357.7. A 15-foot front yard setback is required for both 35 frontage road and for Layla Lane. Electronic message center has to conform with our current adopted standards. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys have. The applicant is also here should you have any for him as well.
Right. Again, being a public hearing, we will close our deliberations, open the floor for any public. If anyone wishes to speak in favor or against this item. There being no public, we will reconvene our deliberation. And if you guys have any comments, questions, or would like to make a motion.
Has this been through TxDOT for right-of-way approval?
Yes, sir. Actually, the last remaining comments that need to be addressed, there is a TxDOT donation request form that needs to be done. Yes, it has been reviewed by TxDOT because of that intersection for Layla was a crucial part.
I was also just thinking about the future interchange and who knows where on-ramps, off-ramps, and new overpasses are gonna be. And what's current heights of signs that we have now? And what's our
Currently-
ordinance?
Currently, we allow for 20, but if there's an elevation change based on the drive lanes of the 35, it can be elevated up. But the drive lane at this portion is consistent with theirs, but their concern is southbound traveling with the overpass.
Feel like the work we've put in leading up to this on previous signs seems to have been a good guide and to navigate through this request. And I think it's appropriate use for considering the challenges that have been presented.
I get a stickler, and I think part of the scenic cities had a for digital signs, but they have come a long, long way in terms of how they appear and what they look like. A little concerned with, but with all the capabilities of those signs nowadays to automatically change, and they do look pretty attractive. I was curious, the type of messages, do we know what will be displayed up there before? No.
Well, because of signage limitations, they have other uses that's going in there, foods, barbecue, and a bakery that's also going to be going into that truck center. So be advertising for the other businesses that's in there at that location.
Well, in showing my change, I guess I'll go ahead and recommend we approve item number 11 is presented.
Second. You have, that's amazing. Shift, I'm shocked.
Yeah, we have a motion second to accept this item as presented. I'll make my comment. I'm with John. I think I voted against every single digital sign along I-35 because I just don't think, one, it's just more electricity, right? Just used for advertising. And the signs I see typically, they don't have the best graphic artist designing the sign. And so it's typically an eyesore. So I just usually have a problem with them, but they have come a long way. Software's come a long way to help people make good signs. The other concern I have is I think we're going to need to address the arms race of the 70-foot pole sign, because now 2, then we're going to have 3, then we're going to have 8, and then we're going to look like some of these communities along I-35 see lots of sticks in the distance, and that's what you see. And you look at, say, 1325 and I-35, which is where Loop 1 is, a very high intersection. And as you go into Austin and Round Rock, lots of businesses, nobody has a 8-foot tall sign. So you don't have to have a tall sign to have a good business. So I think we need to think about, now that this is a second one and it's a key intersection, we probably need to what is stated, we've done a lot of stuff to get ahead of this. I think we may end up having a dozen or so signs in this area. And so we probably need to get a handle on limiting the density. That's just my own comment. But any other comments or questions? All right, there being none, all in favor of approving item 11 as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Aye. Maintain consistency. All right. Passes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-1. All right. Item 12. Hold a public hearing and consider amendments to the Belton zoning ordinance related to the sale of alcoholic beverages.
Speaking of coming along.
Yeah, it says the Baptist to the Baptist. Oh,
You may need to recuse themselves.
yeah. We need to move off to the back porch. Go ahead, Bob.
Since you brought up the Baptists, I'll bring up the Catholics and you're talking about the back seat. We invented that, so you can't take that.
Yeah.
Got a big picture of this thing coming along here.
You please.
Alcoholic beverages.
Alcoholic beverages.
I was going to vote against it. But I'm not gonna pass this.
I can pick any one of them. I mean, they're all.
I just hate the signs.
Thank you, guys.
I believe so.
Good luck.
Right. That's the thing. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It's gonna be big on the screen, big in front of you, so you probably learn more than what you probably want to know. Okay. So our goal today is to adopt the proposed alcoholic beverage policies. And along the way, we'll ask you to open the hearing and get that taken care of as well. Oops. As you know, we had an election back in May that the wet and dry election passed in May, so it allowed for on-premise and off-premise consumption of alcoholic beverages. So on-premise bars and restaurants, and off-premise would be convenience store, package stores, bars, things, things like that. So our job after the election was to basically implement the voter mandate. So we had to figure out a way to get that done. And so we're looking at ways to consider how and where these uses take place. So our process, we engaged the governance subcommittee. I think some of y'all were on the committee, so thank you for your work on that. Had some meetings this last summer, made some recommended amendments to the ordinance. And we issued a technical memorandum in anticipation of the public hearing process back in August to highlight the activities that we were talking about there. As you know, the ordinance regulates what type of activities and where those can take place. And as I mentioned a minute ago, we do have, we allow for off-premise consumption. Excuse me, on-premise consumption, we don't allow for off-consumption. So the amendments that we're bringing forward to you are for off consumption, and then some adjustments to the ordinance itself. You all know probably that, over the last couple of legislative sessions, particularly in 21, the rules significantly in terms of the administration of alcoholic beverages. A lot of the things were changed, most notably in terms of percentage, how people define businesses based on percentage of alcoholic beverages sold and versus non-alcoholic beverages sold, that kind of thing. They've, for the most part, taken that away, particularly for local governments and things like that. But it didn't necessarily, it did not take away our ability to regulate these types of users in our zoning ordinance, which is very important to us. There may have been other manufacturing requirements and other criteria that are very pro business for the alcoholic beverage industry, but luckily we were able to retain some or many of the requirements that we need to regulate on a local level. So in terms of the proposed ordinance, there's some uses in our ordinance that we just added the statement to the back of it, which said, with or without off-premise consumption of alcoholic beverages. That way, if you had something like a truck stop or a pharmacy or a drugstore, they chose to do this, then they could. The other aspects of the ordinance is that we included requirements for a specific use permit for many things. We, have highlighted up there for breweries and things like that. And I'm not talking about manufacturing facilities. I'm talking about the microbreweries. And I think our ordinance already does those things is no more than 10,000 square feet. And where they were previously not permitted, and you can see on the spreadsheet what is allowed and what's not allowed, and we'll touch on that here in a sec. Restaurants previously not permitted, we're suggesting where they apply for a specific use permit because they might be in an area where traditionally, locally, we have not allowed them to occur. And then issues with, uses such as pharmacy and drugstores, also where they not permitted will be asked to get a SUP, and of course, package stores, which we have not had in bar, they would have the SUPs associated with that. That's kind of in a nutshell, kind of where we are at that point in time. We do remove a lot of the maximum minimum percentages, as I mentioned to you, simply because we don't have the authority to regulate those things, but the state does. So the state jumps in there and takes care of it. So we don't want a standard that's different than the state or more stricter than the state or what have you, because they will say if it's different than ours, you guys can do it. Oh, and by the way, the rules don't let you do it anyway. So why go there? So it's kind of an interesting kind of conundrum there. So here we have some other things. Oh, I mentioned the 10,000 square feet for breweries, distilleries, things like that. We had to obviously tackle the issue of package stores, which are liquor stores and bars, add them to the table of allowable uses, and then add a definition of off-premise consumption, that kind of thing. So these are more the administrative things. We put them in there because those become part of the equation because of the wet-dry election. We have to have these things in there so that we address the things that we are talking about. So this is the whole thing in a nutshell, I guess, the summary of proposed uses. And you can see some of them by right. P is permitted, NP not permitted. And then, of course, the red add with an SUP, add with a permission. P, that kind of thing. So on the left side of the screen, on my left side, you see things like grocery stores, convenience stores, pharmacies, restaurants, and those kind of things. So we add a P where we think is okay to add a P if permitted. You see the yellow is allowed by SUP, which is already allowed by SUP. And into restaurants, you see there where it says add an SUP where historically it's not permitted. And then we get distillery and breweries, and we had to dig a little deeper to make those things happen because they're new. Essentially, they're new to the ordinance. So you can see that a lot of those things are done with a specific use permit. And the committee, as y'all may remember, felt that this was a good beginning point. And, we're kind of stepping out and doing some things and that have not been done before. And it's a very safe way to do this, I guess, is to kind of take them case by case. If somebody wants to open up a bar or a liquor store, things like that, take them case by case, evaluate them, and then make that decision, using the latitude that you have during an SUP process, which is a similar process to the zoning process, right? And so you can kind of on a case by case basis. And so that is, I think, a very appropriate process to begin with. It does allow us to be involved in the establishment of these places in the community. So I think that's a safe place to start. And let's see what else we got. Okay, yeah. So today, as I mentioned, our goal is to conduct a public hearing on these
on these proposed amendments. Our staff recommends approval of the proposed ordinance. We took these policies, had a public hearing with the planning commission on the 17th, just last week. They did the same thing and recommended approval as presented. So, all right. It's okay with you. I'll just step back and let the call the public hearing.
I'm sure we have quite a few questions. We'll save those questions for after the public hearing. So we'll go ahead and close our deliberations and pause our questioning to open the floor to anyone who would like to comment positively or negatively on this item. Yes. Name and address for the record.
Harold Brockway, 3341 Main Road. One of the questions that we've been trying to understand is, there's a 14% limit and a 7% limit. Will those still be in place or they kind of get blended out of it?
Yeah, if you, I mean, we do it locally.
With this last election, it'll all be 17%.
Right. Thank you.
Trying to make it simpler. Any other comments or questions or public comments? Yeah, you talk about, if this was 1980s, we would have the whole city lined up on this public hearing, and to have no comments, I'd say not no comments, but not a significant number as the community's come a long way, and I don't think our habits of socialization have come a long way. All right, I will close the public hearing on this item and reconvene the council. If you guys have comments or questions, I know I have a few, but fire away.
Bob, I'm sorry. Can you clarify on the very far left-hand column, the last four options, the four in our code? What are those again? Can you remind me? The IPLIHIRD.
Oh, those are the zoning districts.
I know,
Yeah.
but remind me which of the last four ones.
Oh, the last four, industrial
Thank
park,
you,
light
Bob. Can you
industrial,
let me know?
heavy industrial, and then redevelopment district.
Redevelopment. Thank you.
RD. Yes, ma'am.
Just so I'm reading this right, you could have a pharmacy or store selling alcohol in a residential area by permit. Is that correct?
No, sir. It's a NP on the top of the list. It says residential on the left with an asterisk.
R is retail. Oh, I'm sorry.
R is
Okay.
retail. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
That's what
Very
I
good.
asked.
Good question.
the same thing when I first.
Yeah, our single family is SF. So, yeah.
CBD, do you want to verify?
CB.
Yeah.
No, they should
Commercial
clarify. They should
Yeah, we probably
clarify.
need to find a new initials for that.
Let them find it.
So a couple of questions for me is on the light industrial and heavy industrial. It says you do not allow for restaurants with beer, wine, and liquor, but you could have a distillery, a brewery, a package store, and a bar when you can't even have a restaurant. I don't think that's probably consistent. I can understand if it's like permitted and those are permitted, but I don't know why you would have a bar with an SUP in a heavy industrial.
So you would suggest.
I would
changing
suggest that it would be consistent that people that are operating heavy equipment do not need to have alcohol or access to alcohol easily, especially on the night shift. So I would just say when it comes to industrial, that it would be like it's under restaurants where it's just not permitted.
That's fine.
That's one.
Yeah.
I was just trying to look for consistencies on the grid. The other comment / question. UC is university campus.
Yes, sir.
We've not come far enough. I'm kidding. HB and alcohol, I don't think that mixes either. So I think that's fairly consistent. So speaking of, has anyone on campus reached out to the city about any concerns about this as it relates to the college population and alcohol sales in this city?
Not to me, Mayor.
We did have a committee, a UMHB representative on the committee.
Okay.
Oh, that's correct. Yes. Yes, we
Okay.
did. Yes.
Okay.
Thank-
Right. I just wanted to make sure that we heard what they had to say. I've got another one. So when we have like what we're gonna have this weekend with the B4 and after, when we do that, right now we can use somebody's permit to allow for alcohol sales in a specified area, and it's limited to wine. If that person were to be a bar, would that allow for stronger drinks in public square?
Today,
Yes.
it would not be permitted because we don't have bars in the zoning law.
No, I'm just saying, but what I'm saying is when we make these amendments,
Yeah.
and then now we have a bar, and now we have an event, and we have somebody else their permit, I'm assuming it would be anything you can drink at the bar.
Answer to that question, but I'll certainly research it. It would make sense because we do use temporary event permits that if they're allowed and the main vendor is wet or licensed for alcohol,
Okay.
it's possible. But let me do some research on that.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm not, no scare tactics or anything. I know that that's something that would potentially.
Trying to kill a good time.
Yeah.
How about to go? Is that, do we address that it's not allowed or allowed or?
Yeah, it's
The
a state.
state of it, even on like a convenience store permit, because most of those to-goes are actually made with wine or beer. They're not made with the heavy, the.
But a bar
Liquor.
could say if you wanted to take that,
I don't know that that's allowed under that situation. That's another one I'd have to research for you.
but that was the other thing I was thinking, when we have something on downtown square, there are some bars there, full service bars. So I was wondering about the ability with a mixed drink or be able to move that.
I'll add that to the question.
I think that has to do with food and beverage permit. I believe that's.
There's the tape over the straw move that,
Yeah.
I don't know how that works.
Prior to 2021, if you went to some venues that would have sale of beer, wine, and mixed beverages, if you wanted to go and have mixed beverages, you had to go behind a line, and you couldn't bring those out to be amongst the beer and wine. But the beer and wine was broader this. But I think 2021 they might have changed that to where it's just no restrictions, and I don't know. I can see that would impact us a bit.
Bob, you said something about 10,000 square feet. Was there a magic number of 10,000? If someone had an older building that was 11,000 square feet, what?
Yeah, I chuckle about that because, there's always a line that you have to draw. That's in the ordinance currently. I just wanted to keep that in front of us so that we knew the difference between manufacturer,
Sure. Yeah.
like a big place and a microbrewery. So we're locally defining that as a 10,000 square foot or smaller.
And
So
if
it becomes
somebody,
sorry.
I'm just saying, if somebody, I don't know, whatever, still Austin or somebody wanted to come up and do that, they could or could not.
They would need to go through probably a PD process to get a
Okay,
special
so-
exception from the city.
So there's not allowed by right of zoning for manufacturing. This is just 10,000 that we're looking at tonight.
Correct, exactly.
Currently.
Sorry. Yes, sir. Okay, good.
Any other comments or questions?
I don't think enough about all the intricacies of the code, the different districts and zonings and stuff. I trust your guidance. I don't know, do we need questions or can we just kind of, like, if I made a motion to basically, you can't add any more SUPs or Ps to this chart without our bringing it back, and then if
We wouldn't be able to do that anyway.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
you got that.
I'll make a motion that we approve as recommended with the current categories, with the exception of, I think, making the LIH
So,
consistent.
the mayor's,
Not
Yeah,
permitted.
suggestion.
So
Yeah.
LI and HI.
Or either not permitted or all SUP.
Not
I don't know
permitted.
how we're gonna put it in the motion.
Probably better just not permitted.
okay.
Clarify. You say not permitted across distilleries, package stores.
Or should we just leave it as is and we deny the SUP if we don't?
We do want to control expectations. So, Mayor, if you wanted to maybe reiterate that for us, we'll capture that.
Okay, all of this is 10,000 or less.
Yeah, we define distillery and brewery as 10,000 square feet or.
Yeah, if Miller wanted to move their
That's a
plant
whole
from
nother.
Fort Worth to
That's a different,
Belton,
that's not on.
Different animal. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
not on.
that'd be a whole separate process.
it's a manufacturer of a product.
I'm just trying to picture where if I've ever seen a microbrewery or place you. hang
Yeah,
out
Celis
in and-
Brewery in Austin back in the 90s opened up in an industrial park. And I know that the brewery is down in an industrial park. And so there's some places that do allow.
I think that was part of the thinking of the LI and HI, that you might have something, say, in the business park that was LI or HI that might request that opportunity. That would require rezoning in order to accommodate if it's something zoned LI or HI and it's prohibited. But that's certainly.
Yeah, I'm just saying same with restaurant, because if you're gonna have, let's say, a brew pub and then they also serve food in L or HI anyway, it's just.
You're gonna rezone it anyway.
You'd have to rezone.
So we're open either way.
So
We don't have a motion yet. We kind of,
I'll amend the
Faded off.
motion to,
well, no motion's been made, so you just state it again.
okay, I'll state my motion again. That we approve as recommended with the exception of LI and HI across the distillery, package store and bar be changed to NP.
Cool. We have a motion to accept as presented, except for the exception by HI that you mentioned.
Got it.
Do I hear a second?
Let it die.
Heard a second. All right, do we have any comments or questions about it? And almost not second.
John.
I have a quick question again, I'm sorry, but in the heavy industrial, what square footage is allowed in heavy industrial now? Create an issue there or not?
For distilleries and breweries, do you mean?
Well, I
Or
guess
just in general?
anything.
Oh, no, because we're just dealing with
No, I know.
entities that sell alcoholic beverages. You talking about somebody who's making car tires or anything like that?
No. A distillery type manufacturing, like a Miller or whatnot.
Oh, I see, like a larger factory that big. No, it wouldn't have any effect on that, because it's a different animal.
whole separate process.
Yes. Because that's like a manufacturing, that's similar to, like I said, manufacturing tires or anything like that. That's a factory, except you're making beer. So
Okay,
It's not a place like
They're not
it's,
selling to the general public.
that's what I'm asking. Is there something that
Yeah, I thought.
in that wording, it makes that confusing? But I'm fine with
yeah,
the first.
no, it-
Mhm. So there's a motion in a second.
Motion and second. Any other comments or questions? All right, all in favor, please let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, passes unanimously. One step
Okay,
closer.
Thank you.
Item 13, hold a public hearing and set a date to consider and annexing 2.305 acres of right-of-way along Old Golf Course Road. Mr. Van Til.
Wonderful. The image on the right, that has a red line around it, just south of I-15 all the way down to the dog leg on Old Golf Course Road, is the area that is subject to annexation. We're just extending the city line out about 60 feet to the west, encompassing the existing right-of-way of Old Golf Course Road. With the beginning or with the approval of Skyview and their development out there, part of the discussions on that project was the improvement of Old Golf Course Road, from a 2-lane blacktop to a collector style road. As you can see, it's under construction there. When it is done and accepted, the right-of-way will be maintained by the city. So this is why we are requesting that we annex that area into the city. So part of the process is to conduct a public hearing this evening on the annexation and then set an adoption date for October 22, 2024, which in essence will be hopefully a consent agenda item. We'll finish the process. So that's pretty much all I have.
All right, this being a public hearing, we will open the floor to consider any comments on the annexation of the right of way along Old Golf Course Road. Just say anything for or against this item? There being nobody's saying anything about this item, we will come back to the council. We will have something to say about this item and reconvene. So, Chair would entertain a motion or comments or questions. Oh, there's no action. Oh, okay, okay.
Well,
Set a
we-
date.
we-
Oh, it's set a date.
Yeah, set the.
All right, so I would consider making a motion to set the date.
I'll make a motion to set the adoption date of October 22nd, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion, a second to adopt the date of October 22nd, 2024. The only question I have is who initiated the annexation proceedings for this?
We did.
We did? And we can legally annex when somebody does not voluntarily. Okay,
Public road.
public road?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, provision for a public road.
okay,
The county has concurred
okay,
in the deal, so.
okay. I just, because all the law changes, I just wanted to make sure that we're doing what we need to. Okay.
Right. And there's
Right.
a few things left over.
All right, motion a second to annex all the critters of Old Golf Course Road. Please let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Item
I would just
14.
say that's the last thing that this council and previous council have done on that part of town in the last 5 years. And council had a real vision for that and in large part made that happen. And it to me is one of the biggest transformations of anything in the city of Belton in a long, long.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Item 14, hold a public hearing and consider an ordinance amending chapter 20, the code of ordinances related to utilities. Mr. Rogers.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Councilman Holmes makes me laugh. Tonight, we're going to talk about the chapter 23 of our code of ordinances. That's our code related to utilities. Stop it. Okay. So with the adoption of our new rate structure, we're looking at chapter 20 in general, and that has not been reviewed in quite a long time. That section of our code of ordinance. So there's several amendments we need to make to that ordinance. Those amendments kind of fall into three different categories. Some changes we need to make to accommodate our new rate structure. Basically need to reflect our current practices that have changed over the years. And then there's kind of a housekeeping type of cleanup that we need to do in this ordinance. So I'll go through some of these. The first group related to our rate structure implementation. We've added a new section 23-163 that essentially defines our four commercial classes: residential, multifamily, customer classes, commercial, residential, sprinklers. So those have been added. And we deleted then these sections you see there that were previous definitions of our classes as they existed back then. So that establishes those rate classes going forward. What we also did with section 23-173, I moved the sewer section, the parts related to sewer rates that essentially just says it's on file with the city clerk. That 23-194 moved up to 23-173. And then also in 23-173, we had some language that says we have the right to negotiate customer that uses more than 500,000 gallons per month. I decided to just scratch that because now we have a rate table consumption up to that 500,000 gallons. So that really doesn't necessarily apply. We can always come back later one day if we have somebody that just uses a tremendous amount of water and wants to negotiate some rate. Say like a water bottling company. I'm just using that for an example. Then we address it at that time. But for now, all of that kind of type of consumption, that volume of consumption went into our current tables. There's several sections that need to change based upon our current practices. In 23.6, it lists several reasons for disconnection. I added failure to pay as one of those reasons. There's another section that addresses that, but just to be clear, I'm putting in it there as well. Section 23A, we removed the section that has a minimum charge for basically apartments. We used to do that based upon the number of units. So we would charge a rate, like the residential rate is what it was, times the number of units in that apartment, and that's the minimum bill that that apartment complex would have done. But we don't have that any longer. We bill based upon meter size for a base rate, and then the consumption. So there is the number of units has no bearing any longer under our new structure. 23.159, you fire a written request to the finance group for a reread. All they have to tell me that I'm fine with that. 23.176 relates to leak rate adjustment procedure that used to require the language as it sits now says the finance director, the public works director, manager all have this committee that gathers together to approve our leak rate adjustment. That's not what we do now. Now it's the finance that has final approval on that. We did add some bill cycles during the last couple of years. So 23.207, we're adding billing cycles and changing the due dates accordingly.
Mike, just a quick question on leaks. Do we provide a service or notify users if their water is spiked? I thought we did.
We try to.
Okay, good. And we're pretty liberal on working with those folks who've had a leak or
Yes.
pipe or.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes. Our ordinance says they pay for the water, but at half the rate. That's what our ordinance says, and still would under this. But yet at times when it's just something really strange and unusual, that I'm a little lenient on. Yeah. Also other changes for current purposes. 23.210 had this long drawn out process for somebody to basically protest a disconnection for non-payment. I don't think we've done that for years. We don't somebody on our disconnect list until they're 2 months delinquent already. And so they're already 2 months behind. We give them a notice, or we have phone calls, sometimes what we call a door knocker, a notice on your door that, hey, pay it but by Wednesday or so, or you'll be disconnected. But that's the notice that we provide now. There is no, and that's been the practice again for years, not to protest a disconnection. This is for non-payment after all. 23.10, there was some due dates on drainage fees. That's other locations in our code. Some basic housekeeping type things. Our code referenced Texas local government code. That's changed a bit. I'm clarifying what's a prompt payment. And then we also had some language about deposit waivers for those in the military. We used to have a program. It was called the program with Fort Hood. Well, there's not really a program with Fort Hood anymore, obviously, but we still do give waive deposits for active military members that show an ID. Industrial language, industrial waste, I'm just moving from one section to the other. Title change only for 3208. And like the others, instead of having an actual schedule showing fees for drainage, we have now just the language that the rate is on file with the city clerk's office. So the recommendation for council tonight is approve amendments to chapter 23 of our code of ordinances, and I'd answer any questions.
All right. This being a public hearing, we will open the floor to anyone who wishes to speak on our code of ordinances and the changes that are being presented. Being no public comments, we will close the floor and reconvene to consider this item.
I will state, Mike, I really appreciate your efforts during the overwhelming water study that we did, and adding winter averaging and focusing on conservation and some other things. I think this cleanup just kind of some tidy up work in conjunction with that. So really do appreciate that. That was a big undertaking.
Thank you.
And with that, I'll move we approve item number 14.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the amended chapter 23 of the Code of Ordinances. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 15, hold a public hearing and consider designated a no on-street parking area along the south side of 13th Avenue, with Main Street, Highway 317, all the way down to Whipple Road. All right.
Council.
Scott.
Appreciate the opportunity to go over the 13th Avenue bike lane ordinance here. Just a general map of the area where the bike lane, which would be on the south side. Just a little bit from Main Street and all the way towards Old Waco Road, pretty close to Waco Road. This bike lane, the proposed design, as mentioned, was on the south side of East 13th, showing a little diagram there for you. In 2020, we did send out notices to owners and before the project began, and the overall consensus with the respondents was the majority approved of the bike lane and wanted to have the bike lane. Additional notifications were sent out here before the commencement of the project here in 2024 with no comments or concerns regarding the bike lane. As mentioned, it's on the south side, and we've kind of gathered that to put over there for a little shared space, you could say, with between the sidewalk and the shared the bike path. This code of ordinance is section 22-77. Parking in prohibited areas, which basically just states it's unlawful for anyone to park in the area designated by markings on the street or by signage within the street. And it is our recommendation to hold the public hearing and adopt the ordinance designating a no on-street parking area along the south side of East 13th Avenue.
All right.
Happy to answer any questions.
It's nice to see that coming together as well. Any comments or questions?
I think it's good.
All right, Chair would entertain a motion. I'm sorry. I flipped the page. It's I got yeah. So yeah. All right. So anyone wishes to speak in favor or against the no on-street parking along 13th for the bike lane, now's the time to talk about it. Or just reserve your rights to complain in Facebook in the future. All right, there being no comments now. Any comments?
I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you know offhand how wide that bike lane will be? We've had some other bike lanes in the city that range from narrow to really, really wide.
Yeah, this one was approved at 6 foot, which is decent size for that.
With that, I approve item number 15.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item number 15. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right.
I just was 13th Avenue. It's come such a long way in such a short period of time, and the West 13th is wonderful.
It is.
Yeah, fine, yeah.
Absolutely, for all these years.
All right. Item 16, seems like we're putting this, all the things all on the same day. Item 16 is consider a resolution recognizing Belton as a support of the craft brewing industry and celebrating Belton's membership in the Texas Craft Brewers Guild Brew City, Texas program.
Did you bring samples?
Well, we have Nolan Creek Brewery here, so maybe they did. Thank you, Mayor and Council. While Bob was working on the amendments, we were working on adding Belton to Brew City, Texas. So here we are. Okay. What is Brew City, Texas? The first of its kind in the nation, launched in 2024. Dedicated to propelling Texas to the forefront of the craft beer generated economic development and tourism. And with the craft beer industry contributing $5 annually to the Texas economic communities, large and small, and have begun to recognize the industry's vital importance to fueling the economic development, attracting food and drink tourism, cultivating community for local residents. Brew City, Texas aims to breweries and communities across the state under a shared vision to position Texas as a world-class craft beer tourism destination. With that, by fostering strategic alliances, providing tailored additional resources and deploying targeted marketing efforts. So the program aims to bolster Texas craft beer tourism for communities large and small. The cost of the membership is $350. Any questions?
No, I think it's great.
Okay, the benefits of the membership is joint marketing efforts for social media and press releases for Bruce City, Texas. Ability to utilize the Bruce City, Texas mark in tourism and promotional materials to promote Belton as a craft beer destination. Receive Texas Brewery Passport and Texas Craft Beer Destination promotional materials for our visitor center and for our local brewery. So we're real excited that they're here tonight and they have supported this and highly recommended it. So they're excited to be a part of this. Post unlimited economic incentive and real estate opportunities to the Texas Craft Brewers Guild Texas Beer Industry Classifieds page to get in front of brewers and planning as well as operating breweries who may be looking to expand. Promote Belton's programs, events, incentives, collaborations, or other opportunities for craft breweries and professionals through their guild, member online forum, and information tables at in-person events, such as one that's coming up this weekend, if anybody knows about that one, B4 Festival. And build relationships within the Texas craft brewery community and contribute the industry culture. So this has been a big deal in our community and not nationwide yet. They do expect nationwide, but we're starting this in Texas. They started this in Texas. And so we are very excited to be a part of it. So our recommendation is to adopt the resolution recognizing Belton as a supporter of the craft brew industry and celebrating Belton's membership in the Texas Craft Brewers Guild Brew City, Texas program.
All right.
Any questions? Bottom line, economically, it's more tourism, more money, and economic development into Belton.
I appreciate our local brewery. I'm glad to be here tonight, and I would move that we adopt that resolution recognizing Belton as a supporter.
Second.
We have a motion, and a second, to adopt the resolution in support and joining the Texas Craft Brewers Guild. Any other comments or questions?
We're gonna need bigger letterheads if we keep coming all these cities. Music City.
Yeah.
Brew City.
Yeah.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right. Item 17, considering authorizing Chapter 380 Economic Development Agreement between the City of Belton and Bearden Investments. Sorry.
Emphasis on beer tonight, huh?
Just keeping with the theme for the evening.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Happy to present this item to you tonight. We do have Chance Bearden available remotely. Chris has confirmed that he's available. If you have any questions about this request, they weren't able to be here tonight, but they are very interested in participating in the process if you have any questions. This is a project that we'd like to present to you tonight for your consideration. Bearden, as you may recall, purchased the southeast corner of Wheat Road in Digby from BEDC. They proposed to develop two buildings totaling a little over 66,000 square feet and really bring to town a significant project that would establish a Central Texas hub for products and services, principally for apartment development in this corridor between Dallas and San Antonio. This is the site plan you may recall seeing earlier. The building on the left is what they call their core distribution facility, totaling 48,000 square feet. That's their distribution facility. The blue building is 18,200 square feet and proposed to provide for HVAC type activities and materials basically to serve the region. Just as a reminder, Chapter 380 Local Government Code is a tool that's available to cities to incentivize proposed development. We've done this on a few occasions in the past. We have tax abatement, we have a 380 agreement utility extension policies, other kinds of things that are available as incentives to development. But in this case, we kind of landed on the 380 agreement as the most appropriate mechanism. Their project proposes a total of $10 million investment in the area, addition of 30 employees, and certainly impact on property taxes and sales tax, which would be positive as they bring these businesses to town. Our proposal to the council tonight is to authorize a permit fee waiver. We've calculated that. We have that in your packet. It totals a little over in the $22,000 range, but we'd like to recommend a waiver of up to $25,000 to help launch this development in town. We have identified and in coordination with the developer, established some conditions on time frame, and they're very anxious to come to town and get started. We have recommended a building permit by the end of 25 and a CO for the buildings by the end of 26. So they are ready to go, and they believe this incentive would help them get underway. The fiscal impact again would be a maximum of $25,000 in permit fees, building and associated fees. And again, I mentioned Chance Bearden is available remotely to have, if you have any questions. We would recommend that the council consider this 380 agreement. We had some discussions with the applicant about tax abatement, but we felt like this was a more appropriate mechanism at this time and would recommend your consideration.
All right. Thank you, Sam. And thank you, Chance, for joining us remotely. Any comments or questions?
The maths on their potential sales revenue or sales tax, and not to mention property tax. So I appreciate them willing to work on that front.
Sure.
All right, Chair would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the item as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize city manager to execute the Chapter 380 Economic Development Agreement and not to exceed $25,000 in the waiving of different fees. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Again, thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Bearden.
Chris, got a lot.
All right, item 18, consider authorizing a letter of support for legislation in the 2025 Texas legislative session that would enable the creation of a Central Texas Water Alliance. All right, Mr. Listy.
Thank you very much. All right. This is a really exciting one that we would like to ask for the council consideration. We've had some discussions with the county judge recently, and Judge Blackburn has expressed an interest in leading an initiative to seek state legislation to create a Central Texas Water Alliance. Really important. You know, we've just come through our water master plan and a number of investments in the area, and the item would authorize a letter of support for this really important effort. We just completed and adopted our strategic plan, which one of the goals is to identify a strategy to develop long-term water resources. And as you well know, this action would be consistent with that planned goal, the water master plan that was just adopted, and some major recent investments in water infrastructure. Who would comprise the alliance? A lot of interest growing in the area. In counties in the immediate vicinity. I'll show you a map in just a second. Alliance membership is yet to be determined, but certainly there's a lot of discussion, and everyone is expressing a similar interest and need. As we've shown in the water master plan, we're in pretty good shape for a little while. We've made some investment for additional delivery of water to town and additional capacity. But looking in the long term, we need to identify additional water resources, see the cities and counties that would be involved. And again, it kind of shows the Central Texas region kind of centered on the Temple Belton area, basically, with about 5 counties that have been identified so far that have expressed an interest in participating. The initial projects for the Alliance principally would be 2. First, supporting legislation that would authorize the creation of the Central Texas Water Alliance. This would take legislative action. The intention would be to grant the authority for pursuing water rights agreements, essentially easements, and the authority to build infrastructure to deliver water to the Central Texas area from underground aquifers that are located east of Belton. Want to make clear that while The opportunity to secure easements would be a component of the legislation. This would exclude taxing authority. That is not a component of what's being proposed in legislation. That's a pretty important factor as well. There are a number of these entities in place right now. My understanding is there was about these. One of the more recent ones established was in Hayes County. And so this is an increasing trend to recognize the fact that we are now in excess of 30 million people in Texas, and Central Texas is a huge component of that. And so again, we need to control our destiny, and that's why it's so important. Timeline, if we're successful in securing the legislation in this next session, we could secure water rights that have delivery to town by 2030. So again, you have to do the planning and get ready for this easement acquisition and development of pipeline plans and programs are certainly going to take some time, but 2030 is not that far off to have something in place. In terms of the cost and how this would be funded, the members of the alliance would contribute funding on individual needs and what share of the water they are being provided. The funding for this would be more than likely bonds through Texas Water Development Board and other state and federal funding. There have been some discussions in that area as well. And again, the strong growth pattern of Texas suggests state and federal funding hopefully would be available. So the next steps would be the support of the council for us to sign a letter to express our interest in this. Legislative priorities are being finalized now. The judge has asked for letters of support by about mid-October in order to get into the initial filing period. Also asked us to identify any water infrastructure plans that we know about to begin to develop a capital improvement plan. And then, of course, for us to be available for phone calls, support, and testimony during the legislative session. Again, no fiscal impact right now. This is just an expression of support that we would request from the council to allow us to speak with one voice, legislature, and would ask you to authorize us to sign a letter to be signed by the mayor and myself on enabling legislation in the 2025 session that would create the Central Texas Water Alliance. Any questions?
So I still understand this entity would not have taxing authority, but I think I read that it would have eminent domain authority.
Eminent domain authority.
How
right.
would that work?
That would be authorized in the legislation for us to make offers on property, to try to acquire easement, certainly with the goal of securing that through negotiation. If that were not successful and you had alignment on two sides of a line and there was perhaps a property owner that did not agree, eminent domain authority would be available to us and we could secure that through condemnation.
It would be basically for a pipeline
Right.
through the property.
Correct.
And not a taxing authority, but could issue debt. So I guess they would pay off the debt through revenue bonds or
Yes,
other source?
yes, correct. Each entity, similar to groups that we participate in, like the district, the water district, the member entities would comprise a share of that debt that is utilized to get the pipeline to town, basically.
The other thing I was curious to know, is it a single county or is this being set up for 5 counties?
No, the five counties are what have been discussed up until this point.
Falls County sure has some issues with water.
Yes.
And then a member board, appointed board, county oversees this? Who sits and oversees this?
Some elements to be worked out, basically, as again, depending on the expression of interest, the composition of the board and the membership would be accordingly. We have experience doing these kind of things with the 911 center, with the Central Texas Water, the water district, basically the BCWC ID #1. So certainly working with the judge on previous experiences like this, there are certainly examples out there of how to comprise a board of this kind, basically based on the strength and participation of the membership.
We would be a member as ourselves, or we'd be a member through WCID 1?
No, the city of Belton.
Got it. Okay, any other The only question I had is, hypothetical, and again, this is just a letter of support, but trying to get ahead of it. If the citizens of Belton don't really need, let's say, water, but somebody else in the group does, and we have to go collectively to borrow money. I would assume that this would be a kind of pay as you go. So the burden wouldn't be shared amongst everybody if only one member needs something.
Right.
But
I think those details have to just be worked out.
Okay.
We've had similar situations in the district, not everybody needing it at one time, not everybody being debt or sharing the debt equally.
Yep.
So that would have to be worked out in
Okay.
each bond issue that comes forward to pay their fair share.
So likely a base rate based on the number of acre and then a variable rate based on utilization or usage.
Well, a lot of those details are going to be in the legislation, which we'll
Right.
probably have very little control over. And then we can decide if we want to join or not.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just something that.
Yeah.
doesn't appeal to
That was the last question is we identified someone to in the legislature to help sponsor this and make sure it gets to the floor.
There is one. Two.
Hopefully a senator and a representative.
I would think Pete and maybe Brad.
Okay.
Brad Buckley, I believe, was who was mentioned as being carry the bill in the House.
Okay.
Can't think of anything more important than securing our water for the future. So I would move that we authorize the letter of support.
Second.
We have a motion to as the letter of support for Texas Water Alliance. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. All right. Receive a presentation and discuss sidewalks as required in ordinance 2021-25, which requires a sunset review no later than 3 years following its adoption. Mr. Van Til.
Thank you.
We'll say, since we had this meeting 3 years ago, can't there many sidewalks. Kudos and props.
All right, that concludes my presentation.
Thanks for.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Item 20.
Are we moving on?
We are at the sunset hour. I think.
Yeah. Speaking of sunsets, where's the beer?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Bob.
Mr. Van Til.
Just a few more minutes and we'll be done with this. All right, sidewalk policies. As you know, they were adopted back in 21 and along with the master plan. Sidewalk trail, shared use master plan, and those and that plan led to the amendments to the subdivisions. And in the ordinance, it said that we wanted to take a look at this 3 years hence to make sure our policies were being implemented in the way that we imagined it. So here we are. So since then, we've had 37 projects come through the process. 14 did not require it. They were in neighborhoods. As you can see, 23 did require them. We had one variance, and that was Metal Mart. They did not build their sidewalks there on Dog Ridge Road. And the council agreed with us that they shouldn't have to build the sidewalks there. We had one waiver that was for a business called Frosty Cone on Waco Road. That's primarily because they would have built the thing in a floodplain. And so that was a waiver on the staff level. We do have the ability to do that. And it's on Waco Road and 13th. So 13th Street sidewalk is going to take care of the 13th Street sidewalk. There you go. The last one is for Hidden Trail Division down west side of Wall Street. Agreed to build the sidewalks out to Park and to Miller Walking Trail. And that was in lieu of park improvement. So the vast majority of these projects have followed through on the use of the sidewalks. The map that you see right there is the master plan. And so basically we follow that as part of the development process. Our opinion is that the policies are working well. I think that we would like to consider in the future is that the payment in lieu of construction is a little bit low. We set that fee 3 years ago. Now it's probably up from 15, maybe even more per square yard. Other than that, we don't think we need to make any changes to the sidewalk map, any changes to the ordinance in the subdivision ordinance. So I hope you agree. That's basically the extent of our report this evening.
Awesome.
Being
Being a work session, any comments, discussion on this item? I'd echo.
Maybe the city just revisit our own commitment to sidewalks, maybe Main Street, where there's some areas there, people walking in the just short spurts that we've missed or haven't been done. Might be nice to kind of fill some of those in. I do notice quite a few people on Beale Street walking where the sidewalk ends as well.
Yeah.
Like Daniel said, the number of waivers and all of that has gone way down. I mean, I think we went through a period of a couple of years. I think every meeting we had some issue with a sidewalk always coming to council. So this seems to have gone well. As far as the price, no actions needed for us to change that. Or-
Well, the next time that we do the fees ordinance, we'll
It'll be part of
suggest an
fees?
appropriate fee.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll piggyback.
I agree with John's comments on the sidewalks and on areas like Beale. And I think looking also at maybe there's some places there that we need to not allow parking on both sides of the road because it just frankly dangerous. Especially near the railroad. Railroad's not a component of that, I don't necessarily think, but in that area, if there's cars on both sides, it's dicey, and there's always cars on one side, on the east side.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right. All right. Sounds good. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Item 20 is receive a presentation of short-term rentals as required in the ordinance, which requires a sunset review every 18 months following its adoption. Mr. Van Til.
Gosh, yeah. Well, the purpose of this ordinance was to capture some of the lost hotel occupancy tax that was going through. And then we had a couple of complaints at the time that, was troubling enough for us to gather up ourselves and to working on this ordinance. The Ordinance Review Committee met many times and we had numerous public meetings. I mention only because you're recalling some very fun moments, I can tell. And
Reminiscing.
you're reminiscing, yeah. Christmas time. And it was a thorough, transparent test. And as we well knew, as we were stepping off into this project, it would be, kind of like a 50-50 for and against type of thing. However, in March of 23, as part of the adoption process, we agreed to revisit this 18 months from then as part of the process of seeing how we did in terms of adoption of a new ordinance to regulate these things. And so our ordinance essentially just basically asks people to register with the city so that we know who they are and where they're at. And if there's any problems, then we can get back to them and hold them accountable for that kind of thing. So currently, we have 20 active SDRs. We're seeing 8 going through the renew, and several of them are expiring later this year. And we have 4 are probably struggling to get renewed because of payments of taxes and things like that. So those things are out there.
Bob, can you clarify on the 20, is that just 20 that have registered or the 20 we know about?
20 that have licenses or have permits.
Okay.
And so, yes,
And
well, there's a couple of them that do not pay. The 4 on the bottom there are probably struggling.
Okay.
2 of those are struggling to pay their occupancy taxes. And I use the word struggle to be nice to them.
I understand.
Licenses.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Right.
There's more.
So after the adoption of the ordinance, we, created a, like anybody else that applies for a permit, they can apply online. It's all electronic. They pay online. The finance department keeps a website with the collects all the hotel occupancies because we do that locally. We have a map online on our website that you can look at to see where they are. And we have the 500-foot radii around there and all that kind of stuff. So it's very transparent even still. You can, pretty much learn anything you want to know about who's where and when. We think the policies are working well. The challenge that we have is finding all of them and asking all of them to pay the taxes that they need to pay and to get their permits. Even as late as today or yesterday, we got a list of about 35 folks, or addresses that from the police department, and we know they're out there. We just have a difficult time finding them. The reason I put that graphic on the board there is that's 50 websites that you can book a STR through. And so the challenge is we can go to Airbnb and VRBO and maybe one or two, but there are many of them. And so our only suggestion in this particular juncture of the process, is to consider hiring a third-party consultant to help us find the STRs in our community. And I will tell you from a pretty high-level perspective that if you look on the websites and you find the dots on the websites, like we showed on one of the pictures here, they're approximate. And 3 years ago, when we had the chore of finding how they are, because the question is, well, what are we dealing with? Are we dealing with 1,000? Are we dealing with 1, 2, 5, 20? We didn't know. And so basically, you pick a certain period of time, and you pick out the dots on the map, and you find them. And a lot of times you can't find the exact address until you book a room, unless you're real savvy, like some detective I won't mention to you, that can recognize specific homes and specific neighborhoods that will say, okay, there's an STR, and you report it to us. And of course, we'll follow through on that list. We'll send it just like we did 3 years ago. And unfortunately, some people will say we're not an STR, or they'll peg their neighbor as an STR, or they just won't respond. And so I think to kind of overcome that kind of weakness in the process, we should consider seriously hiring a consultant to help us to find them, hold them accountable, to pay their taxes and things like that. Obviously, there'll be a cost to us, but I think it'd be more efficient than having our city staff doing all these hidden STRs. I think that is, we have a little map here showing how many that we found. I think we mapped the ones that we received from the police department and some of the others that we found earlier in blue that are permitted. So all in all, there's probably about 30, something like that altogether. So we're challenged to find them all.
Bob, what's been our communication and community education program to help people understand or know that they need to register and get a permit from the city? I mean, it's pretty easy to probably go out there on one of those sites and sign up and rent out a property, but some people are directed to the city or may know they have to get a permit.
Yeah. We did, following the adoption process, which was very public and very transparent. We did get a lot of feedback, and we actually had a pretty robust list of people that admitted they had STRs. And so we followed up with them. And once that was done, we found other folks. We sent letters to folks that we thought they were STRs. As I recall, that was the extent of our outreach program. And so it kind of snowballed from there. And so we had people calling from the region asking us if they needed to get a permit from Belton. And so we, just kind of said, if you're a Belton, you need to get one of these these permits. As I recall, I believe that was the outreach process.
We do have on our finance website, the information that, you know, you have to register with us, you have to pay hotel occupancy taxes. What everyone that has come to us, with a payment that's delinquent, and I think, Megan could vouch for this, every one of them thinks that their platform is going to pay us. Like, Airbnb would remit payment to give Belton. That's a misconception. That does not happen. We tried to intervene. I personally tried to intervene with Airbnb to get them to begin collecting for the city. You get so far into that email chain before you get dumped because you're not one that has a short-term rental. You're not their client. So yes, there is still more outreach to do. Bob is correct. Probably the best way for us to do it is to reach out to consultants. I'm aware of several, and we can request a demo for their products, that sort of thing.
Do those platforms collect taxes for other entities?
Yes, they do. In fact, for the state of Texas, they just don't. The city of Belton. They do for some cities even.
Bear County,
Don't know why that is.
Yeah. Something to look into at TML to see what
So
other
we-
communities have done.
Yeah, we'd like the opportunity to just do that, bring a proposal to, we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, it's a lot better that when people buy stuff from Walmart and Amazon, then it comes to Belton, they collect the sales tax and send it to us than trying to identify the packages on people's porches,
Yeah.
which is the same as trying to identify who's renting a room.
Yeah.
I think we need to probably look at the platforms, and consultant may be the way to go for that. The last question I had on this is when we collect the hotel motel tax, there's a component that goes to the county, correct?
The county does have their own
Yeah, they have their-
tax. We do not collect that for the county. So the county.
Okay, so
anybody
we
knows
passed the
also
ordinance
has-
to allow them to collect it, but we don't collect it and remit to them.
Correct.
Well, why if the county's using consultant to collect, why wouldn't we just piggyback on them? Because every
Outsource as a service. Okay, here, man.
yeah, that we would pay our pro rata share to, it seems like it'd be better to ride along than to take off.
I've had some discussions with the county about that. I thought that the county had hired a firm, but they're just not there yet. Even their process as far as discovery and all of that. I don't know if we can participate in that contract or not. That's the other one.
Because 100% of the citizens of Belton are of Bell County. And so 100% of the people paying taxes in Belton are also paying Bell County.
But we have initiated those conversations,
Okay.
so they know that we're
Okay.
interested. So if there's some kind of thought in there, we'll jump on it.
Yeah. It may be an opportunity for kind of like the Central Texas Water Alliance's Central Texas STR Alliance, short-term rental.
I tell you, somebody like
Could well
Port
be.
Aransas or Marble Falls, Horseshoe Bay, somebody hasn't figured it out.
Fredericksburg. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, Fredericksburg.
Yeah.
I think we could-
Somebody doing it.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank y'all.
Great report.
Appreciate your help.
All right, any other comments or questions on short-term rental? There being none, I don't see anything on the following page. We will call this meeting adjourned at 7:18 on Tuesday, same day we started.
Did we get a meal and rabbi 7:15?
Time for a beer. I didn't either. I thought for sure we were gonna be 8:30. Yeah, it's with the work session.
Hey, does, oh, I thought you put up.
A lot of things I like in life, including the subcommittee.
I was like.